And now, today when I came here, what I was supposed to do and what Chuck actually wanted me to do was throw the glass onto the hood scoop, which looks like garbage right now because it's, we're not going to look at that. And what I did was my usual ADH squirrel thing, where I kind of went the wrong way and I got the window to go down instead. Sorry, Chuck. I did you bad. Oh, you're glad the window goes down. Okay. So we've ground this down again to get the proper contour into the foam. I haven't been happy with it yet. It hasn't been a matter of any problems other than me being picky and, you know, Chuck wanting it right, which is understandable. But now we've got a proper contour, so I'm going to throw some of this on it again, and then we'll see what kind of shape we can make with this air scoop, and hopefully we can get this thing wrapped up. Well, it won't be today because it's getting near the end of the day, but hopefully we can get that wrapped up the next day that I'm here. So, onward and upward. But what we did was we ground this down to a good contour, and then I just threw another skim on it. Silent night, holy night. Nah. Anyway, I just threw another skim on it just to kind of give it a form and some strength. Then I'm going to give another coat of this, and then we'll put the actual fiberglass on next week. I promised Chuck I can't ignore this hood anymore. It's just that window. Oh! Okay, we're back at Chuck's GTM. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been here. I've been working on everybody's calendars. And so I'm back, and not much has happened on the car. Hood scoop is actually looking better than I remember it, but Chuck swears he didn't do anything to the shape. Well, anyway, the plan today is I'm going to take some cardboard. Actually, it's kind of a foam board, right here. See? It's got some thickness to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the shape of what I want the vents to be, and I'm going to trace them from one side to the other so they're exactly the same, and then I'm going to tape it so it sits like that, so it's flush on the bottom, and I'm going to build the glass, the short strand up to it to give us some thickness, because this is chipping here, and that will continue to chip there because it's a sharp edge. So if I build it up to be, what is that, 3/16, not quite a quarter of an inch, so say 3/16 of an inch thick. So if I build that up and I get some thickness there to put the fiberglass over when I put the fiberglass cloth on, then we won't get the brittleness. So that's going to happen there. That's step one. Is I'm going to cut a template out of a thin cardstock, out of this. Then I'm going to trace that template onto the black cardboard there, or foam board I guess. Then I'm going to tape it in. Then you're going to see me skim it, just the top half. Right now this has got a good scoop to it, a good shape to it. You can kind of see it there. It's got a concave to it. And then I'm going to find the shape I like, cut another template, trace that template onto the side of some 2x4s. I'm going to use that as a sanding block to make it consistent all the way across. And that way we'll end up with a nice even shape. Because if you hand shape it, it can be nice, but really it'll never be symmetrical. Just for giggles, and because I love the sound of my own voice and I'm all alone, I'm going to show you how I'm doing this template. I've put the template over, or I've marked. What I did was I took the pieces I'm going to use as a circle template, which is, this is a piece of air intake, and I've marked on the fiberglass. There's where it touches, and there's where it touches. I don't know if you can see the marks, but they're right there and right there. So that is the corners. I've done the same thing here with what I'm using for this corner, which is the can from the short strand fiberglass. It'll fit right in there. So I marked where it contacts. So I marked where it contacts, and that's going to be, again, apologies for the bad camera work, I'm on my own. So then I line this up with the edge, right there. I'm lining that up with that edge, and this up with this edge. And I've already done the mark, and then I thought, what the heck, I'll show everybody how I'm doing it. So there we go. So I've marked it there, and here's the mark here. I'm going to mark it here. So now I'm going to take this over to the messy workbench. Come on you. Come on you. There we go. Bad camera work. But now I'm just going to trace this. I'll trace that, and I'll make the template. I'll cut it out, and then that'll get traced onto the black cardboard. So then I'll twice, once for each side, and then I'll get going on this. And here we go. One template. It'll sit right in there. Yeah, that's a good shape. I like the corners. I like the shape of it. Let's trace it. And here's a great example of what I was talking about. We had hand shaped these scoops before. Now these are exactly identical because I cut them. I cut them from the same template. They are exactly identical. But when you put them in the holes look pretty good right now. I mean, they don't look too bad. Like this further back. There we go. When you put them in the holes are not exactly the same. I'm going to have to narrow those down a little bit and just kind of fiddle with them. But whatever I do with one, I have to do with the other. Make them exactly identical, and then I'll be ready to shape this. All right, so I trimmed a little piece off the end of one of them, so it is now slightly thinner than the other one. So what I'm going to do is use it to trace. I'm just going to run the knife right along that edge. Then they will again be identical, and then I'm going to place them. So I've taken a piece of cardstock. I just used the old stuff that I had used for the cutout, and I've put a tab on the front. That tab is going to be used to attach this. That's what's going to hold it to the bottom, and that'll allow this, whatever little gaps are in there, to fill. Covered it with packing tape, of course. You know why. I'm not going to go into it, but I'm going to do that with the other side now, and then once everything's attached, I'm going to fill. Here, chuck pulling back up, and we've got this done. We've added some thickness here. We tried to fill in the little holes where the corner was too sharp, and I pulled the template that I made because I don't particularly want all of this to stick to it and peel off with it. I don't think it will, but nonetheless, I built up the thickness. This is quite thin down here. It just looks like it's down there, but it's really, really thin. All the thickness was built on the top, maybe 1.5 to 2 inches, and then we're going to smooth it once I get more fiberglass because I've run out. Anyway, okay, so I thought I'd show you what I've been doing here because we now have thickness. So that's not going to be brittle. Now there's obviously still some fill in to do around here. Fiberglass Never really comes out perfect. That's more of a body filler thing. This side's been done. This side I'm working on. What I'm doing is I'm getting the shape, but I'm using a long board. Long boards, if guys who don't do body work, anybody who does body work knows, these things stay flat and they give you a nice symmetrical shape from side to side. When you use one, this is 40 grit. That'll bite in a hurry. Short strand glass sounds like iron, so you get away with 40 grit. If this was a body filler, I'd probably be using 80 or 100. Then what you do is, if you were finishing this, then you would go from 40 to 80 to probably 150, then to a 240, and then you would probably prime over the 240, and then you'd block again over the primer with 320, 400, 600 you color code, and away you go. In this case, because I'm putting glass over it, actual like glass, this is just to make a form for the shape of the fiberglass for the strength. I'm not too worried about the 40 grit sound scratch, because that'll actually give something for the glass to bite to. So this probably won't get cut any finer than this. But if you were to paint this, oh god, it would look hideous. But anyway, when doing the sanding, I would be using two hands normally, but I'm holding my own camera. Don't go like this, because what you'll do is you'll dig a trench, and you'll never get rid of that. So you're running about 35 to 45 degree angle. And as you run it in what's called a crosshatch. So you run opposite each other. Now, as you're running it, this is really cool. You see how the powder gathers? Those are your low spots. So you can find your high and low spots, and you can get it nice and smooth. Now, this side's been done. Well, not done, but done enough that I'm almost at the point where I can use body filler, which will sand much easier. This side here I still have to do. Big pit there. This hasn't been shaped in right. The other nice thing about it is you get a good feel. That and that, you want them to feel the same as your hand comes over. So you follow the same track. And yeah, so anyway, that's what I'm doing. I would show you better, but holding your own camera, it's almost impossible to use one of these things. But the other thing you can do is use as a nice straight edge. You know, see that that's even there, that's even there, right? So now I know that when I do my little fills, that's going to be symmetrical, and then I'll do that the homemade sanding block as well to get the profile symmetrical. And this is all going to look pretty good when it's done. Okay, what I've done now is finished with the longboard, and then I hit it with some 80 grit and the DA just to feather the edges and kind of smooth stuff out. Obviously I vacuumed afterwards. Now I've got, by hand, it feels pretty good. So what I did is I cut a shape out of the cardstock that I'm happy with the concave shape right there. And just, you know, okay, so there's a bit of a gap there. That's fine. In the middle it's good. And then here the gap's, again, a little bit. So it's not perfect, but this is a shape to that. So what I'm going to do, now that I have this shape, is I'm going to use a jigsaw. I'm going to cut this shape into the 2x4. And then that 2x4 will act as two things. First thing it's going to act as is a spreader when I put the body filler on. Get it right? And then it's going to act afterwards. I'll put sandpaper on it, and then it'll be a block, and I'll just run it straight across, and that will give me a completely parallel shape across the front. And as I come around the corner, I'll be able to do that with it and get the same shape on the edges as well. So that is the plan. As soon as Chuck gets home, I'm going to find his jigsaw, and I'm going to do that. But in the meantime, I'm going to work on the door. But yeah, I like this shape. It's going to work. It's pretty close all the way around, so I didn't actually do too badly getting that shape by hand. This side here, there's a little gap there, but it's not too far out, so I'm pretty happy with that. This here is not even close, but yeah, so we're getting there. We are almost at a point where I'm comfortable putting fiberglass over. I could probably get away with putting the fiberglass over now, but it's so much easier to shape it with body filler. Get it right. Take the time, do it properly, then put the fiberglass over, and then you've got a lot less work to do down the road to make it actually shaped right for paint. Let's get it right from the bottom up, and then it seems like we're taking more time now, but really it'll save us time in the end and a lot of frustration. So, one other thing I should probably show you. Remember I said I was using this as my shape? Well, that's a bit of 40 grit on there. I'm going to make this shape right. I'm going to do the same on this side. And then I'm going to do the same with this here, was what I used for the inner corners. Now that one is not right. I'm going to fill that in with filler. This one's close. But yeah, that's... let's get these the same from side to side and go from there. So anyway, that was one other thing I thought I'd better show you.